Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. A very special preview of things to come here, folks. I'll put a little light on, maybe that'll help. There's a lot of reflection, I understand. So that's the cover art for my next book, A Distance from Avalon, Strange Beast. Mike Messier, cover art, Nazar Germanoff. Now you might be saying, oh my God, I want to go out and buy that book. Well, I haven't written it yet. But one of my little Jedi tricks, folks, is I have the cover art made before I write the book. I do have kind of the screenplay version of that book written, but the idea is by having the cover art made and even sharing it with you fine folks, I'm inspiring myself to go ahead and write the book. But you might be thinking, well, gee whiz, Mike, that doesn't do us any fucking good. How are we going to enjoy your fine writing? Well, my answer, here's another print of it. My answer to you is don't hesitate, don't wait. Go out and, for God's sake, go out and get my first book, which most of you have not done yet. And I'm a little disappointed in many people who have said they would go out and buy the book or even got an advanced copy and have not promoted it as they should have by now. So you know who you are, who've been deficient any fucking way. I'm looking for something, of course. Wherever I'm looking for something, I can't find it, which irritates me. And now I just found it, but I've had to fucking talk and stall for a long time. Here it is, the first book, A Distance from Avalon, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite. Now this is not a book plug video, a book plug. What I came here to do, I came here to plug books and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. I came here to discuss some house cleaning and then the Dark Side of the Ring Nick Gage review. The other issue is the 700th subscriber. I want to thank everyone, all 700 subscribers. This is dedicated to you. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. And DJ Dale, I believe it's DJ Dale DZ Lockwood or DJ Dale. You are the 700th subscriber, so therefore you get a special plug, or I'll do something with you, you know, if you want me to plug a video or talk to you or something. But unfortunately, DJ Dale's YouTube page, which is pretty cool, he's got some cool beats because he really is a DJ apparently. He has his comments disabled. He's got about 58 subscribers. If you're into music, if you're into DJ beats and so forth, check out DJ Dale. But Dale, I can't leave a comment to get in touch with you because, quite frankly, you're not allowing comments on your page. So I don't know what to do. I mean, I guess I can Google you. Yeah, I guess I will. But why don't you leave a comment here and then we'll be in touch and do some type of cross promotion beyond just me mentioning you and probably getting your name wrong. It's 2:10 in the morning as I'm doing this. Next step. I had a very nice subscriber requested rant. I believe it was actually a female subscriber. So thank you. And if I'm getting your name wrong or if I'm miscategorizing you as a female and I'm just confused right now, my apologies. But I believe the name was Stephanie. I could be wrong. Who asked, hey, can you review all the episodes of Dark Side of the Ring? Now, I did not know if you meant the ones in the catalog, all 3 seasons, if you want me to do like a backlog, which I'm not opposed to, or just going forth. And I say, fuck it, sure, I can do that. So let's talk about this. Dark Side of the Ring, I believe season 3, episode 3, after the 2-part Brian Pillman would be 1 and 2, and it's Nick Gage or Nick effing Gage. And here's the thing, I don't know much about this. I know a little bit about underground backyard deathmatch wrestling, United States deathmatch wrestling. And I did watch another doc about Nick Mondo. Now, I found it a little bit interesting. They both have the same name, Nick, and Nick Mondo was not mentioned really at all. I think there was a glimmer of him, a shot of him in this thing. I saw a couple of familiar faces. I think I saw, who was the professor of wrestling? Chris Hero. I think I saw a couple of clips of him in this Nick Gage documentary. And Nick Gage was the guy involved in that horrible and crazy David Arquette situation. And, David Arquette is in this doc. Spoilers, I'm assuming most of you have seen it by now, but if you haven't, it's well worth seeing. Our buddy there, Jim Cornette, said he would not watch it because he doesn't consider this to be pro wrestling. I mean, he's got a lot of opinions on stuff that he hasn't watched, which is fine, but to me, it's called Dark Side of the Ring for a reason. I'm going to sip a little water. We're not, when I say we, if you're only watching a documentary about things that going into it you know about or you like, you're not really challenging yourself. And I like Cornette, his rants at least, but he does kind of beat the same drums over and over again. I get a little sick of him beating up on Vince Russo, who we all know is a personal friend of mine. And my feeling is, if you don't like this type of wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, garbage wrestling, if you don't like it, even more reason to watch a documentary about it and see if you can learn something. What I want to take this aspect by aspect as I think the Dark Side of the Ring sometimes suffers from the time constraints, because what they're trying to do, in my opinion sometimes, is make 60 to 90 minute movies with 44 minutes and change time to do it. And so it always feels, unless they do a two-parter, it often feels like something's getting left out. The exception might be the Road Warriors episode, which felt like for whatever reason, it didn't feel cinematic. It felt a little less than the Road Warriors one. I'm glad they did the Road Warriors one now that we know an animal has passed on. And as we know, New Jack has passed away. I've done 2 tribute videos to New Jack already. Oddly enough, here I am on a Saturday afternoon watching this Nick Mondo thing in the wake of New Jack's passing. New Jack was not in this, Nick Gage, sorry, not in the, I knew I'd get these names fucked up. He was not in this Nick effing Gage thing, New Jack that is, but New Jack, Cactus Jack and Mick Foley are cited as influences with the death match from Japan, the 1995 Exploding Barbed Wire. What else? There's definitely an influence of ECW in this. You can feel that guys like, the Sandman, Raven crucifixion angle, and Tommy Dreamer, and Barbed Wire, and these things were an influence. See, that hardcore stuff, it kind of came from Japan, and guys like Foley and Funk, helped bring it to the States, and ECW with Axl Rotten and Ian Rotten, all in the mid-90s with their Taipei glass match, the Rotten brothers. But you can look and see the amount of the guys that are now deceased because of that. And I met Axl Rotten. Axl Rotten was a great guy. So it sucks that he's dead, okay? So Balls Mahoney. I mean, awesome, nice, smart guy, Balls Mahoney, and dead. I mean, it sucks. So we can see that this generation of hardcore ECW guys, and they're just not living very long, okay? And it goes back to my buddy Ox Baker. Ox Baker, who started wrestling late in life, and for him, I think he was like 30 when he started wrestling. But he lived a pretty long and full life. And these guys that are fun characters, fun people. I'm talking about Balls Mahoney, Axl Rotten, and New Jack. You might have your differences of opinion on New Jack, but they're not living very long. And the chair shots to the head and everything else, now we know that this shit's dangerous. And so take that to the next fucking level with these guys. And like I say, for me, there's two elements here. It's the element of filmmaking, and I consider the Dark Side of the Ring series, to me, it's less of a TV series and more of a series of short, semi-short films. Meaning that at 44 minutes in the film world, they're right past being a short. A short, typically, by most standards, is 40 minutes and less. These movies are like 44 minutes. And you might be wondering, well, who makes that decision, Mike? Well, the Sundance Film Festival, the cutoff is 40 minutes or less. I need to blow my fucking nose. Give me a moment. God in heaven. Jesus. I just couldn't breathe. So, and I know this because Disregard the Vampire, a Mike Messier documentary, which you all should have watched by now, and maybe you'll watch it again, or for the first time. Disregard the Vampire, a Mike Messier documentary. The original cut, edit, was 41 minutes and 53 seconds. And once we discovered this 40-minute thing was such a big deal, we trimmed it down to 40 minutes or less. That's all. So somewhere in the world, there exists the 41:53 version, but the version that's been sent to most festivals is right on the fucking line, 40 minutes on the dot, or 39:59 to be exact. So what else? So these movies, these Dark Side of the Ring movies, you know, like I said, I always feel like maybe they should extend the program to 90 minutes. And you might be thinking, oh, Mike, you're just giving these guys more work. Actually, I'm not, because if you have a little more time, you don't feel like you're driving yourself crazy in the edit room. That's all. So any fucking way. Now let's get to the thing. You have to separate, and this is what Cornette's not good at, and what I am good at. Separate the content from the presentation of the work. The presentation of the work was excellent, with a little asterisk that I would have liked a little more, and maybe I need to watch this again, of the why. Why does Nick Gage do this? We get a little bit of that he's watching Mick Foley and Terry Funk. I need a little bit more as to why do all these guys do this? Why do the fans come out? I needed a little bit more of a sell that these people are not fucking lunatics. And I needed a little bit more of an explanation or an exploration of the difference between a traditional wrestling fan, like most of us here, and these hardcore death wrestling fans. And do some of these fans get into wrestling like your traditional Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, NWO fans, and then they cross over into the dark side? Or are these different people altogether? And I want some information about the legalities of this shit. And when, you know, I've seen the Weed Whacker clip, I've seen some of this stuff, but I guess I wonder, like, if there was a police officer who came to this deathmatch thing in 2010 or whatever and saw this thing going on, wouldn't any self-respecting officer of the law say, hey, this is assault with a deadly weapon? Like, I don't care if this is a tournament or whatever the fuck. This guy just smashed this other guy with a bunch of glass bulbs. You're under arrest, assault. Or this is, you know, human cockfighting, or... And I guess there's something to be said for consenting adults, and if people are going to act a fool, then let them act a fool on their own time and let them kill each other off. But to think that a helicopter had to come in, you know, ambulance, to get Nick Gage out of this horrible situation where he's got his side pierced with a light bulb and he's gushing blood and arteries, you know, you wonder about the legalities. And I looked into that deathmatch tournament. I'll be honest, that's what this shit does. Watching this thing and seeing, and basically what I'm thinking is, fuck, I go to Delaware all the time. You know, when I drive up and down the East Coast of the United States, one of my frequent stops is Delaware. So I'm thinking, shit, I could go to the fucking deathmatch tournament. I could sit there for a day and watch this crazy shit and chronicle it for the Mike Messier YouTube channel. So of course I look it up, and it looks like it's over now. Another little asterisk or a little minor complaint was they really didn't give the years of this deathmatch tournament. They didn't tell us what year it was. It's basically the 2001 to about 2010, I guess, that this deathmatch tournament in fucking Delaware happened. And I think the one that they showed, where, what the fuck was the guy's name? Flamethrower or something? The guy from Germany? Or Thumbtacker, Jack Thumbtack, or whatever the fuck. I think that was the second to last year that they did this thing, this tournament. And, but yeah, look, I was looking into it like, fuck, I'll go up there this summer if it's happening. But it looks like it's over now, meaning it no longer happens. And, just weird shit. I mean, this promoter guy who's promoting Nick's matches, and he had Game Changer Wrestling, it seemed like a reasonably smart enough guy, but, you know, a guy that would probably be best served running the Dungeons and Dragons tournament every Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Like, is this a guy you want to trust with your life? I don't think so. You know, I mean, like, he seemed like I would trust him to run a Dungeons and Dragons tournament of which I would not be involved in, you know? What else? I mean, Nick's girlfriend seemed very loyal, nice enough lady. I don't see what she has going on in her life beyond Nick, and maybe that was the point. Maybe she was telling us that. But I didn't see much information about her, or does she have something in her life going on that's not Nick-oriented? That did not seem to be the case, according to this doc. And maybe, once again, that's the point. And that's fine, I guess. But, you know, she's got all her proverbial eggs, metaphorical or perhaps literal, in the Nick Gage basket. I felt bad for his brother. Hold on. Was it Chris Justice? Or Chris Passion or Chris Justice? I guess it was his real-life shoot brother who died. We didn't find out why. Oh, he jumped off the fucking bridge. And once again, there was a little bit lacking of a why, and I think that's kind of the point, too, is that, you know, Nick doesn't know why. Now Cornette, I was influenced, I keep mentioning Cornette because he was ripping on this episode before it even happened, and just calling Nick, you know, Gage an idiot and all this stuff. And the thing with the robbing of the bank, and then coming out of prison after 4 years and doing something to go back into prison, you know, forging the piss test and going right back into prison, you can see why the promoter guy, you know, kind of had to move on from Nick as a talent and just work with other people. And that goes into the thing of, to me, when I was hanging out with pro wrestlers a lot, you know, there was, and why, here's the answer. Why didn't I pursue professional wrestling, me, Mike, as a full-time thing, like actually wrestling, okay? And the reason is I didn't like pain. Pure and simple, I did not like physical pain. And at that time, physical pain and the acceptance of it seemed to be like a pre-mandatory thing. Like you had to enjoy pain in order to be in these wrestling rings with these guys. And there was a certain factor of who takes the best headshot, the chair shot to the head, who's willing to do this, who's willing to do that. And the answer for me is I'm not willing to do any of this stupid shit, quite frankly. And I'm not willing to take a razor blade and cut open my beautiful forehead. And I'm not willing to go through a fucking table. And I'm not willing to trust you with my body, because I don't trust these fucking people. Because the people I was dealing with wrestling were not trained. I was not trained, and I was just I'm not putting myself over. I had the thought, I'm going to get fucking hurt pretty soon. So I stopped, and I started doing ring announcing. And that's just the reality. I didn't want to get hurt. Call me fucking crazy. And I also had an indication that my greatest strength, my greatest muscle was from the fucking neck up, meaning the brain, the intelligence, okay? Now, you look at someone like a Nick Gage. By the way, the Nick Mondo doc, which I think I watched on Amazon Prime, is fucking excellent. So if you can find that, no offense to Dark Side of the Ring with Nick Gage, I kind of like the Nick Mondo one a little bit better because it's a little more exploratory. But let's go back to this Nick Gage thing. What it is to me is like these folks, these wrestlers, these deathmatch wrestlers it is a cult, okay? It's a sick cult, and I can see people like myself would probably go once and get their fill for a lifetime. Like, holy shit, I went to this deathmatch tournament in the middle of Delaware. Could I see myself going every summer or whenever the fuck it happened? Probably. But I don't think I would go every week. Like, if I lived in Michigan or wherever the fuck these things happen, I think I'd be a little freaked out after a while. So you have to wonder about the mental state of these crowds. If they're coming and it's almost like you're kind of coming to these shows to see if somebody dies. You know, like it's like a Russian roulette. We're going to go to this fucking deathmatch tournament, and in the back of your mind, the real novelty or thrill of it is maybe somebody will die tonight. You know, maybe we'll see a fucking arm get cut off or somebody's eyeball get poked out. There's a fucking video going around right now of these two idiots, and I don't know if it's who they are, but one guy's lighting the other guy's crotch on fire. And the guy who's getting lit on fire, his crotch, has got like a face mask on, like a retardant mask, so he knows that this is going to happen, but then it goes wrong anyway. So, I mean, the guy runs around with his fucking pants on fire, literally. So, I wonder, and maybe you do too, what the fuck is going on here with these people? I mean, are people's lives so fucked up and depressed and lacking of hope and love that they're fucking putting themselves on fire and attacking themselves with weed whackers and taking these fucking light bulbs, these fucking weird light bulbs that cut on sharp angles and gouge you in the chest and the side and cut arteries? I guess the answer is fucking yes. So, I mean, if you watch my movie Wrestling Son with the Eliminator John Kronus, I think we went there a little bit with the pain pills and with the violence. And Kronus, great guy, but he's bleeding buckets in front of, like, literally 30 fucking people. And John died in 2007, and he was a great guy. So, my point is, there's something about these wrestlers that have a thirst for self-inflicted pain and suffering and blood, and that's the true psychology of it, which I feel like Dark Side of the Ring Nick Gage episode had, like, right in their fucking hands, but it just kind of slipped through. Like, it's almost, and I'm sure that there's other docs. I think the Nick Mondo doc on fucking Amazon Prime went there, okay? So it's a great doc. I'd have to watch it again. It's been 2 or 3 years since I watched it. But I think that doc maybe went into the psychology a bit more than this one. And I think Dark Side had like this slippery fish of a question in their fucking hands, but they didn't quite capture it. And the slippery fish is why. Why the fuck do people do this? And I think that's where Cornette is not willing to explore, but I am. Because I don't take it personally that this deathmatch wrestling is a front to, you know, managing the Midnight Express to the U.S. Tag Team title at the Great American Bash 88, which Cornette, the thing with Cornette, and I guess this is a side topic of Cornette, but Cornette takes everything that happens in pro wrestling personally as an affront to his comfort level of what wrestling is. And I do that sometimes with the WWE when I find that they're catering to Saudi Arabia or whatever the fuck. But I don't take it to the limit, to the depths that Cornette does of personalizing everything. For me, I can watch this doc and separate my shaking my damn head that these guys are killing themselves and the quality of the doc and of it itself and the storytelling. Like I said, the storytelling was excellent. I gotta blow my fucking nose. God, I really don't like this. Being so fucking rude to you by blowing my nose. At least I'm doing it off camera. I can't breathe. Fuck. Anyway, so I find that I can separate the quality of the filmmaking, the quality of the doc, from the content or the idea of deathmatch wrestling. It doesn't offend me that they made this doc about deathmatch wrestling. I think Cornette is offended that they even gave these guys airtime, thinking that everyone's going to go out and become a deathmatch wrestler, and you won't be watching the best of Bobby Eaton versus Arn Anderson, or whatever the fuck. So I can see beyond that. People are going to watch what they want to watch. The other thing is, because I'm not an expert on deathmatch wrestling, I did have like a tape in the 90s of that infamous deathmatch tournament from Japan. I have a VHS floating around somewhere in my stuff, which was like the best of bloodiest New England matches. And I never got through the fucking tape. I think I started one match and I couldn't really watch it. And to give a couple of guys credit, an obscure match that only a couple of hundred people saw live, and somewhere I have it on VHS, I hope. This fucking, I called it Barbed Wire in Johnston, which is Dave Padula, Live Wire Dave Padula versus Diamond Dave Donovan. And it was a bloody fucking barbed wire match in Johnston, Rhode Island. These two guys bled the fuck out of each other. So I have that somewhere floating around. And I had like incorporated this Mr. Slug music into it. I'm going to try and find that when I can go through all my tapes, but it's going to take several months for various reasons. So I have seen in my, and look, I was there, as I explained, for the New Jack Mass Transit incident, as we call it. The incident. I've been in person for some blood and guts wrestling. Not a whole lot. And I saw in Top Rope Wrestling, the wrestler / booker, God, I feel bad if I can't remember his name, really good wrestler, kind of had like a Tully Blanchard thing going, and he got thrown off the top of the fucking cage through like 4 tables at ringside. So I've seen some fucking horrific shit. Steve Ricard and Biff Busick, who you now know as Oney Larkin, had a fucking match at Top Rope Wrestling, which was a great, brutal match. And Steve Ricard was not a wrestler. Steve Ricard, you might have seen on the ESPN doc of Scott Hall, which is a whole other story. I was there for that. But Steve Ricard, to his credit, had a great fucking brutal match with Biff Busick. And I don't like that Oney Larkin name. Great wrestler, great guy, but that Oney Larkin is just, the NXT name generator, as they call it, is such bullshit. Okay? I'm trying to give this really strong analysis of this deathmatch wrestling. And like I said, the point that I don't think the show made, and maybe it's a time constraint thing, or maybe it's just the negative space they're allowing you to draw your own conclusions. The other thing is that these two filmmakers that make these dark sides are pretty young. They're relatively young guys. I think they're in their mid-30s or late 30s. And so I don't know if they have the worldliness of sometimes I think they make their shows and it's almost like they need like a senior advisor or something to kind of come in and fill in some of the big picture stuff, because I think they do a great job, but it's just a little bit of element of the psychology of this deathmatch wrestling. I would have liked to have seen that explored, and I think, like I said, they had it, but they didn't really answer those questions, or not that they had to answer them, but just explore them more. And once again, I'll give them a little bit of a grace because of the time constraints. So here's the thing. I guess you confront it head on. Is Nick Gage a hero? Is he a sad sack? Is this a success story or a story of patheticness? I think if you, this is the bizarre thing. The fact that he's got a Dark Side of the Ring episode makes him a success. You see what I'm saying? Like the fact that he's bled from his arteries and spent 6 years of his life in prison, and his brother passed away, and they were seemingly on bad terms, and his teeth are in bad shape, and we don't know about if he's got concussion issues or not, or he's hurt people and he's been hurt. All that stuff would make you think, oh, this guy's a loser, he's a sad sack, he's a shithead. But the fact that he has a Dark Side of the Ring episode in Nick's life, in his trajectory, that makes him a success. So the show itself is the greatest accomplishment of this guy's life. And hopefully, for his sake, without going around and fucking having death matches in every state of the country now, he can somehow get enough fame to make a living off conventions or somehow be accepted into wrestling conventions. I would like to know, and I think I saw a glimpse of Nick Mondo in this thing, if those two guys ever cross paths. I'm guessing they did, because they're both listed in that deathmatch tournament, but I'd like to kind of know, and if you know this more than I do, leave a comment, or leave a big comment, that's fine. Tell me about the history of Nick Mondo versus Nick Gage. Was that a feud in this world, or was Nick Mondo gone before Nick Gage came along, or whatever the fuck? But that, I keep going back to that Nick Mondo thing, because he had his protege come along and blah, 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 blah. For Nick Gage, he seems, can I say this? He seems like this was what he was born to do. He was born to be Nick fucking Gage. So, can I hold that against him? No. And if he's got this tendency to violence, better be it served in the wrestling realm than in the crime realm, or whatever the fuck. We're glad this guy's not out on the street killing people. Now, this murder, death, kill thing, MDK, murder, death, kill. What the fuck? It's like, it doesn't, it just sounds like fucking crime, So, there's not a lot of mystery there. With Austin 316, or, Austin 316 says, I'm going to whoop your ass. Okay, it doesn't say I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you, So, it's, I guess the point is, I'm making a point. There's, in this deathmatch wrestling, the nuance of, we're going to go into that ring and pretend to have a fight and not really kill each other. There'll be some physicality. We'll come out of it a little banged up, perhaps, but hopefully nobody will get hurt. In this world, it's like, yeah, fuck it, we're going to get hurt. How many stitches did you get, bro? Did you come out alive? And David Arquette, credit and insult to him, he didn't know what the fuck he was getting into, and apparently Arquette didn't have a manager or somebody wise him up to this Nick Gage. And Arquette, I did like that Arquette has a sense of humor about it, takes responsibility for it. I haven't watched the David Arquette doc yet, but I remember somebody saying, hey Mike, did you watch the David Arquette documentary? And I said, well, I haven't, but what I think it will be about is that David Arquette feels guilty that he won the WCW World Heavyweight title in, the year 2000. He didn't deserve it. He had so much respect for pro wrestling that he always carried the shame and the guilt of that title reign with him. And 20 years later, or 15 years later, he felt the need to earn that title reign through wrestling real matches and really being trained and paying for those sins with his body. And the person just said, oh, you did see the doc. I said, no, I didn't see the doc. I just figured it out. So I haven't watched the David Arquette doc, but I feel like I know the fucking point of it. The guy's trying to like do a time warp thing. Arquette in this doc was interesting. In a sense, his presence and that whole thing, in a way, outshined the rest of it. And just the sheer novelty of, it's kind of like the Andy Kaufman thing gone wrong. You know what I mean? Like really wrong. Not just getting a slap on the face and a couple of kayfabe pile drivers, but getting your fucking head and your neck sliced open. And then you see, you know, a real true indication of Nick is that, you know, in some sense, he kind of wishes he did kill Arquette. I mean, you could just sense that. Like, man, if I killed Arquette, this is Gage thinking in his mind, I would have been more famous, you know. And what you have to understand, folks, and this is why I did not go deeper into wrestling as a career. Some of these guys are really fucking nuts. And when we as wrestling fans try to put our middle earth, middle class standards or ethics or mindset, when we try to push that onto these guys, we're fucking with ourselves. Like when we try to think, well, Vince McMahon wouldn't fire such and such because such and such, or you know, they wouldn't humiliate this wrestler. The Kiss My Ass Club on Jim Ross was not to punish him. It was part of the storyline. You know, when we try to put our fucking middle class ethics on the wrestling business, we've fucked ourselves, because these fucks live in a different world. And they do things. Never try to put your ethics or your mentality on someone else's life, or expect them to have the same characteristics you have, okay? And the reason why is because some of these people might be pathological, or they might be fucking nuts, or they just don't share your ethics. So when wrestling fans try to make excuses for the WWE or for whoever the fuck, I guess AEW or whoever, I'm telling you, that's a dangerous card to play, because don't put what you think is common sense or common ethics or common anything onto the wrestlers or the wrestling world or the wrestling promoters. They don't think the way that we do. So when Nick is talking about Arquette, to the logical person, well, of course you're going to take it easy on Arquette. He's a Hollywood guy. You're not going to really hurt him. And same thing, it reminded me of Koulos and New Jack. Hey, we got this big fat guy. We don't know who he is, but we're going to put him in the ring with you, New Jack. Of course you won't hurt him. But once you get these guys in the ring, they're going to get hurt. Whether it's Eric Koulos or David Arquette. Once, you're sure you want to do this? You sure? Okay. Boo. Once these guys are in there, they're fucking lambs to the slaughter. And Arquette taking that fucking Hollywood bow before his match with Gage, it's like, holy shit, are you really that far gone? And I remember watching the clips of the Arquette match. I don't think I ever saw the full match, but I remember watching the clips. It was only 3 or 4 years ago. I think, what the fuck is he thinking? But I basically got the read pretty well. Oh, okay, he's atoning for his sins of being WCW World Champion 20 years ago. That's what Arquette's trying to do. And, I mean, I don't know. I think some people like an Arquette, and this is a side story, this is why the Arquette thing was dangerous to the Nick story, because Arquette, in a way, risked outshining. You know, it's like you're putting the side story in that has more mojo. You know, it's like you're watching Gilligan's Island and you have a 5-minute segment on Ginger, you know, trying on a bathing suit, and suddenly it's the Ginger show. But with Arquette, it's like, okay, Arquette, I got to read on him real quick. He was born into Hollywood royalty. You know, Patricia Arquette, the older sister, who was the hot older sister? Rosanna Arquette, my God, one of the hottest women in the early 80s. Desperately Seeking Susan, gorgeous woman. Patricia, gorgeous. Then you got David, comes in. Got the hot Courtney Cox wife. They get all that Fred's money, the Scream franchise, blah, 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 fuck. But deep down, Arquette knows he doesn't deserve any of this shit. So he's trying to prove himself to people like me, and I don't give a fuck, David. Enjoy your fucking easy life. I'm not holding it against you. I'm not expecting you to earn the WCW title by getting your fucking head cracked open with a light bulb. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't hold it against David Arquette that he got this silly WCW title fucking reign, and I hate the word silly. Conrad uses the word silly all the fucking time, and I hate it. Thompson, that is. Silly. I don't like the word silly, but Arquette, you got your world title reign, you got your hot ex-wife, you got your fucking Scream movies. Don't feel like you need to die in a fucking ring for my enjoyment or to earn my fucking respect. Do your own goddamn thing. So that's Arquette. With Nick, it's like a different type of human. Like, this guy is someone you don't want to fuck with. Like, us Middle-earth suburban people, we don't want to fuck with a guy like Nick Gage. We want to leave him alone. You know what I mean? So put him into that fucking Delaware field and let him fucking smash his head open. I don't know. There you have it. So my reaction is I don't think the show glorifies deathmatch wrestling. I think it showed you it is what it fuck it is. It's a documentary. Now here's another thing for you film fucks. Documentary, you're supposed to present the story without having an agenda. That's why some critiquers say that Michael Moore, who people like to compare me to, Michael Moore is not a true documentarian. He is an agenda-based filmmaker because he goes into his movies, whether it's Fahrenheit 9/11 or whatever the fuck, Bowling for Columbine, and he's trying to make a point. He's trying to influence you, the viewer, and usually he does successfully. So he's more of an agenda-based, argument-based filmmaker rather than a true documentarian. A true documentarian goes into the movie he or she is not planning to tell you what to think or tell you. They're just presenting the fucking evidence and letting you draw your own conclusions. And I do feel that Dark Side of the Ring did that in this case. They've done it in other cases. I do feel like this was one of my favorite Dark Sides of the Rings. Here's the other point that God, it took me so long to get to this. God, I'm just thirsty. My nose is fucked up. One of the reasons why I like this episode a lot was because I didn't know a lot about the subject matter going in. Hold on. I'll be right back. God in heaven. Hold on. Oh. With things like the Brian Pillman episodes and the Road Warriors episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, I know the subject matter very fucking well. I probably know the subject matters on those in my brain more than the two guys, Evan and whatever the fuck, Evan and Jason, who make this show. No offense to them, but I don't have to do the goddamn research because I just know these things. I lived it as a fan. So I know this deathmatch shit I did not know. So therefore, I'm able... The good thing is I'm able to watch this stuff and learn some shit about these freaks. And I want to learn more about it. The audience, the wrestlers, unlike Cornette, my mind is open. Educate me. Tell me a fucking story. I'm curious now. So that means I'm not watching it like I would watch The Young Rock and critique it and say, well, this is wrong. This didn't happen. This is bullshit. So I liked it. I'm going to wrap this up now. We're hitting the 45 fucking minute mark. So if you stuck around for this, the code word is burnt cheese? Leave that in the comment and I'll know you watched the whole video. MikeMessier.com. Thank you, 700 subscribers. Mike Messier.